Hello and good day. It's a great pleasure to also provide some insights into our work from the D area, of our work at the organic associations, Bioland, Demeter, Ecovin, and so on. So, and the work done that was done over the last 5-6 years. Now, as part of this large consortium, of course, we needed to integrate the practical aspects and to facilitate this exchange. So, in other words, to bring and share the research results with the world out there. So, not just with the practitioners, but also with multipliers. So, this could be the hospitality industry or sommeliers. And that is what we did with the focus that we chose was on PIWIs. And here is a couple of examples of events which we organized. Let me give you some examples. One was in November 2022. Now, that was a training for multipliers. So the target group was the hospitality industry, the wine journalism, and wine retail. You can see the agenda here. So we tried to arrive at a mix between technical information and other information and an opportunity for members to also contribute their own views. Jochen Pessner, for example, he talked about the consumer-oriented wine styles for PIWIs. And Christoph Kiefer from Geisenheim, he talked also about increasing consumer acceptance or adoption. So they presented reports, they gave us some explanations, and we also heard Romana Echensberger, a master of wine. She gave a brilliant presentation about how to pair PIWI wines with food. Now, for our hospitality experts, that was very important indeed, because this is very helpful if you know how to combine all the different aspects. Then we also had an interesting workshop that was conducted, which had some interesting outcomes. We put questions to the participants, we formed groups, and for each group we made sure that we'd get a good mix of retail, hospitality, researchers, and the organic associations. And then we had very open discussions about the different questions. Now, you can see the answers or the outcome of these workshops and answers to the questions. Now, this was pretty complex work. The first question was, how do PIWIs relate to organic viticulture? So, so decoupled from certification. Now, everybody agreed that we should not necessarily sort of always connect the two. All the wine growers should actually contribute. Second question was, are PIWIs suitable for the premium market? No, people said, or the majority believed yes, but they didn't know enough. There were a few wine growers who could cite a few examples, but it was found out that much more experience was required in order to come up with a more specific answer. Then what about the product diversity that's possible thanks to PIWI grapes? Well, basically, PIWI grapes PIWI varieties can be used for anything, from sparkling wine to natural or naked wine. So a wide range of possibilities are there. So what are the factors influencing the attractiveness of a grape variety? Now, these could be normal varieties, but in our case, of course, we wanted to know about PIWIs. But the answers were the same that you would expect for other varieties. So the name was important, the look of the wine, but also the wine style, the aroma, and the price. So there isn't a great difference between PIWI varieties and other conventional varieties, if I may say so. So What marketing tools can be used in order to increase the likelihood that people will buy fungus-resistant varieties? Now, that was a complex question which made our participants of the workshop think hard, but all of them said we need top-class winemakers. We need wine growers who can really lead by way of an example and who can show that you can be successful with PIWIs. And then you can branch out towards some multipliers, other consumers, users, finally the end user, either taking the route through restaurants, hospitality, or retail, and social media, of course, also play an increasingly larger role in all this. So which target groups are particularly suited for the marketing of resistant varieties? There was no agreement on this amongst participants. What was important, however, that people out there would keep an open mind, that they would try out new things, that there would be a good story behind all this, and that people would be brave enough to try out something new. Generally, you simply need to launch some very visible campaigns. Now, tenders were raised, for example, when it comes to export into Scandinavian countries. So if you can include them in tenders, that way perhaps we could really address a much broader share of the market. Then we also drew a poster, and I already said this. What is also important is really the training, further training of multipliers. That is an absolute must, according to the participants of that workshop. So we have to do a whole lot more, have to be more visible. We have to make sure that the prices are attractive in order to really reach out to a mass audience. So that is the challenge that we're facing at the moment. What else did we do? We had a similar training that we organized again for multipliers, so again for a trade audience or a technical audience. This time, the meeting was held at Mainz, Citadelle Mainz, but we tried to do a combination event for a specialist audience, but also for end users. Now, with this event, we really hope to raise awareness for sustainability in viticulture or in the area of wines. We wanted to show some wines of the future. Now, this is an initiative that is already very successful, as you will know, and we wanted to increase the visibility of these wines by asking an external speaker to talk on this subject. So this was the agenda again of this particular training in November 2023. Again, Romana Echensberger, she is quite a specialist on PIWIs, hence she held a wine tasting. First, this was only for the trade visitors, for the specialists, but then finally also for the end users. So this ensured that both would mix the trade audience and also the regular visitors. And we also organized a PIWI workshop only for winemakers, and that was in November 2023 at Eva Vollmer's estate. Now, she is involved, of course, on this subject too. She was a co-initiator for the future wines. So her target group were organic wine growers who were interested to learn more about PIWI or who already worked with it and who just wanted to delve a little bit deeper, or newbies to this field. Now, the objective of the event was to overcome the resistance regarding some PIWI varieties, to make sure that people would have more of an open mind regarding PIWIs. Then know-how transfer was organized, know-how transfer from wine growers to wine growers. And then points to watch out for regarding the different PIWI varieties. We discussed different marketing aspects, strengths and weaknesses. And just more generally, we simply wanted to enable a technical, an expert exchange amongst wine growers or practitioners. We also conducted this workshop as part of the Naturland Association, an international conference in summer 2023, but also in the year before that, there was another such meeting which only addressed wine growers. So here, the wine estate of Eva Vollmer, Mainz-Ebersheim. Here you can see the agenda of that event. So she introduced the Future Wines Initiative. Dr. Wolfgang Patzwal, he talked about his long-standing expertise about how PIWIs developed and how it all came about. And we also heard about up-to-date research results, the latest research results. So these were shared so that people would know what was going on in this area, but we made sure that would be sufficient time for an exchange, for wine tastings and things like that. Now, the feedback was always very positive from the wine growers, and we saw how the wine growers really got talking to each other, exchanging contacts and things like that. Now, by and large, workshops such as these are very important. Well, all of them were successful. Sometimes we had a bigger, sometimes a smaller audience. Now, when you organize such an event in June, it can be a bit difficult, of course. It's better to organize these meetings in winter time. But our key message to you is this sort of thing should happen more often, reaching out to multipliers. Wine retail, the hospitality industry, you have to keep them abreast of the latest developments in the field of PIWI. So that was all for me. Thank you very much for listening.